speakers so I can make any noise I want.
Pretty good. So here's a computer. It's this guy.
Computer.
He doesn't really have. What's your name, son?
My name is. Wait, should I say my name?
You don't. I don't care.
I get. My name's Jalen.
Don't lie. Okay, so this is obviously a computer build. Here's the case. I forget what the case is called. Do you remember?
Blue.
A new Skylake i3 6100, a Gigabyte H110MA, 16 gigs. He was gonna get 8. He purchased another one. This is a Seagate. Is this 1 terabyte?
I don't remember anything.
So here's a 1 terabyte Seagate, 7200 RPM. I don't know much more than that because he bought all the stuff. I'm just looking at it.
Yeah.
Here's a PowerColor PCS Radeon R9 380 with 4 gigabytes of VRAM, not the 2 that you can get with by default. Now I know the RX 480 is out now, and I know it's pretty good, equivalent to a 970. But he got this a while ago, before that came out. Here's a cooler. This is not a Cooler Master Hyper TX3. This is actually an Intermax something. I just decided to put it in here for shipping. Oop, that fell. But this will, he doesn't really need it for an i3, but it'll just make it run cooler and quieter than the stock cooler. Plus, can I take the stock cooler? I'm taking the stock cooler. CX750, this was my power supply, but I don't need it, so I'm just selling it to him for pretty cheap. Let's begin with the installation of the CPU. So I kind of told you about this slightly, how it works.
Yeah.
So, GG.
Start surgery.
This is yours.
I hope so. I put mine over there, but no, I don't know.
Oh, I just, wait, what?
That's yours, I think.
That was over here, I just placed.
One of them's poison.
There you go, just like that. So pull out the motherboard, the big thing in there.
I don't want to like smash it against the table. I'm really scared.
Okay, now, then you just take the motherboard out.
Okay. Just grab it.
You go ahead.
Oh god. I've never messed with stuff like this before.
And just lay it on the table.
Bye.
Or lay it on the box, actually.
I almost broke it. No.
Do you see the very middle, the big black piece? Yep, right there. Do you see that metal retention arm? Yeah, go ahead and lift that up by pressing down on it.
Oh.
Right at the end, yeah. Pressing down, yeah, right there. But like more toward this area. You see the big, yeah.
I'm just so scared.
Press that out, down.
Press it down?
Press it down.
Oh god.
And then pull out this way.
Oh wait, what? Oh wait, we might have to learn first.
Lift that up. Yeah, make it flip upwards. Yeah, we're good. You might need the knife for that.
Let's just saw it off.
Here.
If you want to open it, I'd like to get my fingers.
There.
Alright, there we go.
Nice. And then the whole thing will lift out, that piece right there. Yep. And the CPU is up here.
There it
At the
is.
very top. So there's a little plastic piece that'll lift out right up there. Nope. Right
Oh.
up here. Yep, that's it. There's the processor.
There's cardboard in the way. Don't you hate that? I don't know. That doesn't usually happen. I'm sorry.
And there's your new processor.
Oh my god.
$100. Look at all the pins on the back.
That's a lot of $100.
And find the gold triangle. Hint, hint, it's on the bottom left.
Right there?
Yep. And then match it up with the triangle on the bottom left of the motherboard. Yep, and just drop it in there.
Oh my god. What did I just do?
Make sure it sits in there fine.
Oh my god. There.
Yeah. And then lower the retention arm. It's gonna take some pressure, like I said. And just, yeah, that's fine.
Wait, what just happened?
That thing came off, that's fine.
Did I just leave it off?
Yeah, that's supposed to be off.
God, I thought I destroyed it all. Oh no.
And then put it back around this. It's going to take a lot of pressure. Just do it in one.
Oh god. Don't blow up on me. Okay. It's a mouse trap.
I think you broke it.
What?
Oh god. What? You're fine.
Oh god. That was legit fear.
So let's go ahead and install the RAM next.
Ah.
The
I know what
RAMs.
that is, because I bought it once. Twice, actually. I screwed that up even. You just like
Yeah, sure. Let me take a good look at this. Open the other one as well. There's a nice Fury, HyperX Fury RAM DDR4 by Kingston.
Oh, oh god. Oh god. I have two. So it's alright.
Pull out.
Alright.
Yeah, like those, just the other one as well.
Okay, yeah. I'll do that.
And then make sure you match up the pin, or that little notch right there, with the notch in the motherboard.
Doesn't matter each way.
Yes, there's a notch on one of the ways.
Oh, wait, what? Okay.
Let's line that up. I think you got it right.
Oh.
You're gonna lay it in there?
If you think, then I don't know. That is not right.
Yeah, okay, that's the right way.
We'll just make it fit. Oh god.
Push, push.
Ooh, it's gonna snap sideways. So that side first, and then just... Oh, until that thing goes in.
Yeah, you got him.
We need a little Asian plate. Wait a minute, let's not go on with that conversation.
So usually I use Arctic Silver, but I'm about out, so here's some Cooler Master stuff. Just put down a little bit, here like I'm doing right here. Hey, what up? That's plenty.
Logo be on there, so now it should be. Yeah, it's gonna have section.
Just like that.
Oh, God.
Hey.
Snaps.
And then this thing, this is the fan header. You connect that through right here.
I'm so scared.
Should go straight down. Yep, you got it. So to open this up, thumb screws on the side.
Ah, yeah.
Hey, I've used thumb screws this cheap before. These look like the exact same cheap thumb screws I used.
Oh, man.
But that will allow you to take off this, which is the side panel. Throw this out for now. You have two zip ties. Might come in handy. Along with two screws. So you can install a full ATX size motherboard in here. And it looks like, I can't tell how many drives. You can install two 5 1/4 inch drives up here in the front right here, you can see that. And it looks like you can also put in, I can't tell if you can put in fans yet, but I know you can put in, or there's already a 120mm fan up here, and you can put two more on the front, but that won't be super necessary. So we're just gonna have that one as outtake. Oh, and it's a blue fan too, look at that. So let's just lay that right there. Go back into the motherboard box and retrieve this right here, and I'll go and take these out right here. So this will just sit right in here. Audio ports are down at the bottom, PS2 ports at the top.
It's just like PS2.
Hey, same.
It's not the same.
I'll just snap that right
We're
there.
gonna knock the trap.
So go ahead and take this by the heatsink and drop it right into the case.
Drop it.
Putting these ports outside the holes I just put in, so you can kind of see them coming out the other side. And you have to lay them right on the standoff side. Okay.
Looks right. It's just not it. We could eat them.
You want to eat them?
Yeah. Oh man. We'll just smash everything in there.
Yeah. There. Go and lay all the cables down. They can just sit back in here and just chill. Right, so the power supply's in. We already decided what cables we don't need. These are the only cables we will need. Let's see. So let's go ahead and start plugging some of these in.
Use the force. Oh man, this is some tricky business. Oh god.
Think that.
Please don't break. Okay.
That's it. Okay, all those are plugged in. I just didn't really want to have to deal with all that on here. There it is. There we go.
Yeah.
Go around.
The mommy board.
And let's hope we don't hit anything if we go straight in the middle.
No. They built a cardboard.
Oh, nice. The future is here.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, bitch. Okay, we're gonna look at that last. Let's see what it comes with. Manual and drivers, which we will just download the latest ones off of the Radeon website. Ooh, it has a backplate. Nice. Here it is. Here's the backplate.
Oh,
It's for the PCI Express slot. R9380. Here's the back I/O. We've got DisplayPort, HDMI, and 2 DVIs. Don't know how many displays it can take. Probably 4. We'll be fine. And there's the.
oh.
Those are weird fans.
That's super
I've never seen those before. That's pretty fancy though.
Dang. I have like little fancy.
5-fin fans. It's a pentablade. Bunch of copper heat pipes in there. It takes 2 6-pin. The power. Other than that, it looks really nice. That's beautiful though.
So you just slide right in. Can't see the bottom now. It's all.
That
Blind.
just push down.
Oh my god. Oh.
There.
Snapped into place.
Yep. Actually, a pretty good mid-range card. I know the 280 was nice. They played Tomb Raider 2013 on ultimate settings. And this is about the same performance, maybe a little bit faster. I actually don't know the performance difference between the 280 and the 380. I know this one has more VRAM for higher resolutions or texture quality. I know the 380X is good for some 1440p gameplay. I'm not completely sure about the straight 280. Plus, you can always overclock a card like this and get a little bit extra FPS out of it. Yeah. Plus, you have extra power draw and fans to keep it cool. I'm gonna need to monitor these temperatures as well because I don't know exactly how hot this card gets. I'm assuming pretty hot considering it's from AMD. I don't know if that's just a burn on their side or just a straight fact because they do get pretty hot. Right, so that's it.
Oh, man.
That's actually it, yeah.
Dang.
That's, oh, it's heavy. Power supply, CPU and CPU cooler, graphics card.
Oh man. That's crazy.
It's crazy.
It's a newborn baby.
Yeah. Good. Plenty good upgrade path. This will be able to take hopefully a KB like processor. This has 16 gigs RAM, so that's plenty. Graphics card can always be upgraded because that's plenty of a big power supply. You could always add more hard drive space or an SSD in the future. And I say it's pretty nice. I forget exactly how much was this?
Like under $500.
Under 500?
I think so.
Under 500. I mean, if you would have bought this now, it would have had an RX 480 in there, and that would have been
Yeah.
quite a bit faster, but that's fine. It's fine. It's quite ballin'. Here's the scenario. You have an older system, Core i3, 2nd gen, more specifically an i3-2120 at 3.3 GHz and 4 GB of memory. You get into CSGO, but you can't play this FPS needy FPS.
See what I did there?
Let's get some base numbers. The test bench consists of the i3-2120, 4 GB of a Vexor Core beautiful budget memory at 1600 MHz, an Intel ITX motherboard, that's not very important, a 500 GB 2.5-inch hard drive running Windows 10, and as for right now, the integrated graphics, Intel HD 2000. We're also using a 300 watt power supply because that will be more than plenty for this setup. And you can actually play at around 40 FPS on lowest settings, but that's not ideal. I have problems seeing dank hiding at back of sight at 720p. So now we can check out some hella budget cards. First, the GT620. You can't actually get this from retailers anymore, it's just a terrible deal. Also, the GT710, I actually did a review of this card, you can check that out here. They're about $40 to $50 for the 2GB DDR3 versions. Finally, the $70 solution, GT730. I also did a review of this card, but the price tag probably will not justify the performance. Let me go ahead and say you can get a much better second-hand card off eBay for $70. We test these cards on their stock speeds on CSGO running lowest settings at 720p, medium settings at 900p, and high settings at 1080p. I didn't go max or use MSAA because it would be redonkulous to expect these budget cards to push that hard. So here we are, all three cards are hitting at least 60 FPS minimum on the lowest possible settings, but that's not good visually. Once we stepped up to medium at 900p, things get significantly more demanding. The 620 might still be reasonable if the minimums weren't so low. Finally, at Full HD 1080p, both our lower and dedicated cards got similar scores and hit minimums of 14 FPS, which is still unplayable at a fast-paced game like this, while the GT730 is still chilling pretty well. Honestly, these cards did great, and the GT730 did reasonable. For $40 or $50, you can get reasonable medium settings on CSGO. Now, I know these aren't ideal solutions, especially because the new Polaris and Pascal cards that could be coming out soon, the budget-oriented ones. The RX 460 is expected to do great on games like CSGO, and that will retail for about $100 US. Do you think budget cards like the 1030 and 1010 will be a big improvement over a previous generation like the 1070 was over the 970? Either way, this was just a fun budget solution for those who just want to play CSGO, which, honestly, I don't play more than that these days. These are the memories between us, so let it go and let it live.
Let's begin. I tried being classy for once. As you can tell, it didn't work. Got a hole in the sheet. Why are you falling? Don't. Jeez. Oh, jeez. So here we are again. Another computer build. Looks like it. And look guys, this time I have an i5. The i5 6400, 2.7 to 3.2 gigahertz, full 4 physical cores, unlike that i3 baloney you guys were really upset about last time. We also got the MSI H110M Pro BD. MSI, you probably know, unless you're new to this channel, is my favorite brand for motherboards and graphics cards, so I'm using that as our motherboard. We've got 8 gigs, a single stick of 8, no fancy spreader, however it is a nice black PCB from G-Skill. G-Skill, I think it's the NT, high performance memory. We've also got a whole terabyte of data. I know there's no SSD in this build, however, this is a nice 1 terabyte, 64 megs of cache from Seagate, 7200 RPM of course, for lots and lots of video files and games. We got a 500 watt power supply from EVGA, is 80 plus bronze certified, plenty of juice for anything today. Okay, you guys are like, what the heck is that, Cam? That's not new. It's a GTX 660, 2 gigs of GDDR5. You can get these on eBay for pretty cheap. If you want something more modern, for about $200, because that's how much this retailed for when it came out, you can go for something, the 1060 3 gig. It's about 220 bucks. I know it's not a full 1060 because it has some cut shaders, but whatever. It's like a 2% difference in FPS. You're fine. Chill. Lastly, we've got the, what are you, Xeon 560 Black. And there's also a white version of this, but that was out of stock. This one, however, was in stock. $40. I've done a full review on it, including a build inside of it, and you can check that out right there. Solid build for 44 bucks after shipping. I think 43 actually. So let's get started. First thing we're gonna do, only thing I've actually used so far is the power supply and graphics card and hard drive. I know those work for a fact, but we have to see if the system posts. So we're gonna have to test the CPU, motherboard, and RAM now. First time opening this box. Okay, that's new from MSI. We've got this little sleeve thingy that houses your SATA cables. There's the motherboards on the drivers, so you can get rid of those. And it's on the latest off the MSI website, of course. And we've got an easy installation guide, or a quick installation guide. Pretty sure I'm grounded, just in case I'm going to hold on to stuff that's not the PCB. So next we got the processor. Let's see, do I have a skizzer? And we're just using the stock cooler. This is different. It's definitely different from Skylake. I'll only really use aftermarket cooling if you're using a K-SKU or you just want quieter, cooler performance. Even though these already run pretty darn cool. Cool enough to where Intel thinks it's okay to just put an aluminum bottom, while most of the Haswell ones, stock coolers, had a big copper slug in the bottom. Okay, well this is an LGA 775, but I mean, you get the point. They've been doing this for a while. They've had a big copper slug in the middle for better heat transfer. Look how fancy that is. There we go. So I guess I'm gonna have to tilt it this way because it's too tight if I put it like that. Which is no biggie. Slap that in there. So here's some basic G-Skill memory. So there you have one more slot if you choose to upgrade your RAM later. 8's fine for now for most games. Actually, all games. 8's plenty. So in terms of I/O on this board, we have 4 USB 2.0, we've got PS2 mouse or keyboard, DVI, VGA, 2 USB 3.0, as well as we have gigabit Ethernet and basic audio, as well as its own section divided off on this board. I like to see that for your audio. So instead of pressing a power switch, we can just short the pins. In fact, this board gives me a little diagram of said connections. So we see where the power switch is according to right here. And there we go. We got a little red light right there. Fan spinning. See if we get a post on the monitor. And there we go. That says CPU memory changed. Oh no. And that means we did a good thing. So, one to run setup. There we go. That's all black and white. Assume that's normal. We've successfully gotten to the BIOS. That means everything's working right here. Congratulations, we did it. Break out into that Dora theme.
We did it!
I brought up the case, the Xeon 560 Black with a one blue LED fan. So this case, just to break it down for you, 40 bucks. You get glossy metal, tracks fingerprints and hairs. But she's a looker. She's a looker.
So on the inside here, again, we have the SSD slot. SSD will be mounted on the other side. This is the only part that I really noticed flexing. So the side panels, on the other hand, there's no flex like I have seen in other cases. So you can see yourself. So in the front, we've got our power switch, reset switch, 2 USB 2.0, headphone, microphone, as well as USB 3.0. Or in case your motherboard doesn't support USB 3.0, there is just an adapter for that. Not an adapter, but or it can branch off onto just the USB 2.0 instead. Say if your board doesn't support it, it'll still work. That port up there, it'll just act as 2.0 speeds. We also have pre-installed black brass standoffs. Let me go ahead and grab the hardware out of here. Have I already? I already have. Cool. Let's see what's in here. We've got 5 zip ties. We will be using these for cable managing. In the back, there's not a ton of space for cable managing in the case. However, we will try to make do, because that's what we do. Just like that. Drive, that is. You've got these. There's 8 of these. I think there's 9. You got 1 extra. These are the they're like hex screws, except they have a more of flat, longer cylindrical piece, and those are the ones that go through here. Also, we have these hex screws. I'll be using these for the power supply, even though the power supply does come with 4 as well. These can be used for the SSD mounting, 4 of them for the SSD, and then the motherboard. Or whatever. Just don't break it. Weird case. The cloth you've ever seen. That's thermal paste. However, there are some clean sides. Ow. Oh my god, that's bad. Watch out, I just sliced my finger open. That's a perfect cut. Do you like blood? Hopefully you're not squeamish. Because I just cut my finger. I'll be right back. I'm deducting points for that. It's not very nice. I think it was this right here. I put my hand in and just sliced my finger right here. So watch out for that, guys. It's an old case. Make sure you don't contract any diseases from rusty metal or Zika or something. You don't want the Zika. That's bad. It's bad news. Make sure you line the holes perfectly fine. And that might have snapped it in. Kitty, meow, you're cute. And you wanna be nice to your components. Fan side down. Like that. I got it though. Not bad. And that got them high quality cancer cables. That's what the cool kids call them. Your cables from, so I assume you can use these up here. Now again, you don't have all the room to mount your cables, so we'll try our best. Now, if you're really confident that you don't need this USB right here, snip this off because it'd be irrelevant at that point. So here we've got 2 USB ports, and that'll go right into a JUSB 1. Wait, is there only 1 USB? Yeah, the pins for JUSB 2, it says it right there, but it's missing. So right there. So what you do, you take the HD audio. You see the AC97 connected to it, tone out clippers, and you just kind of snip it off. That's what you do. So I've got HD audio right there. Okay. Next we've got these. Luckily, you don't have to look at the manual because they're right here. Tells you exactly where to put everything. I'm gonna zoom into that. There we go. So we've got our hard drive LED down here. Also a reset switch down here. The art of cable managing is a tricky one. Either you have the knack or you don't. I'm one of the ones who can't. Again, 2 gigs of GDDR5. This is the overclocked version from MSI, so it's I think clocked over a gigahertz. Or you need to get afterburner, overclock a little bit, and you'll be fine. This thing stays pretty cool, so I remember. You've got a display port, HDMI to DVI. There, snaps in. Looks fine. You've got 2 slots right there. This one allocated for the screw it comes with, but the bottom one, we'll choose a hex screw because we have a couple of those left. It's your AC97. You don't need that ever again. This is the matrix. So you just line it up. Holes, I think, line up perfectly right there. So you get this. That was the back fan. Here's the front fan. This can actually just stay tied up. That's fine. We don't need it. It can stay tied up. So there's your optical drive. If you're still living in the 1800s or whenever these things were a thing. Never passed history class, did I? I need that slack. Yeah, that works perfectly. See what I did there? I just kind of folded that cable downwards underneath, and it's still plugged in, perfectly fine. So you got one hard drive. Hard drive first. You want to do that? Definitely. Yeah. Okay. I think that's it. I think. Okay. That's. Never open this. That stays closed. We don't touch this anymore. It'll burst open. We don't touch this. Here's the screws. Fine. I mean, look at the cable managing and everything. I worked so much in the cabling, and it's definitely not its best. I've definitely had better cabling days. So before I go to benchmarks here, after spending 2 hours on this video, I upgrade path. So you're gonna look at, first thing you want to get maybe an SSD. This is gonna tear up. There we go. That looks dumb. Look how dumb this looks. I mean, I doubt it's gonna strip the wires now or cut them up. i5, you've got that. That's fine. That's solid quad core, 2.7 gigahertz. That'll be good for quite a while. Now, when you do upgrade, this board will hopefully support KB Lake, which will be coming out early 2017. KB Lake will still be using the 1151 socket. However, a BIOS update probably will be needed. Still gonna put a new stock or a different cooler on this if you ever need to. Something like a Hybrid 212 Evo. You can upgrade your RAM, add another stick of 8 if you need to. Power supply will be fine for quite a while. This case is perfectly fine. Motherboard's fine. Add an SSD later, say 250 gig or 120, and you got another hard drive, another 1 terabyte. Put these in a RAID 0 for speed or 1 for redundancy. So if you wanna put it in a 1, I'd probably put it in a 1. I'd probably use SSDs for RAID 0 for speed, and then hard drives in a RAID 1 for redundancy. And then you have the graphics card. Now, I have a 660 in here, slightly older. However, you could always upgrade to, say, a 1060. So right here, you take out the thingies. So let's say this one and just, there, got the top one. Yeah, I guess you just kind of gently or aggressively hit that. Peripherals. I chose the Cooler Master Devastator 2 mouse and keyboard combo, the blue LED ones, for $30. And is that a good deal? Check out my video I uploaded today about that. I made a mistake, and you get to come with me to see my mistake. When putting in my motherboard, I was not careful enough, nor did I ever check. This is being covered, my Ethernet thing. I'm gonna have to break that. Or something. I'm not taking the motherboard out. Screw that. So, the way we fix that is we simply get a screwdriver, pull this piece out, and tell him to bugger off. So I'm just gonna push him aside for now. He's fine. Now, headphone-wise, I chose something that I use personally. Logitech G430s. Let's be honest, they're $40. Not the best in the world. You have a mic. You've got headphones. 7.1 surround, which is nice. However, they do get uncomfortable after a little while, after long wearing sessions. But I do use them every single day. Okay, here's a moment of truth. See if anything I did even mattered. There's the power button. Boom, there we go. Okay, Windows is loading. Look at that.
So happy birthday, Bladen. Here's your new computer. In case you couldn't tell, that's yours now. So if you have any questions, just ask me. Hope your computer serves you well, and I'm always open to help. So in case you have no idea what to watch next, I'm gonna have 2 videos I already uploaded today. A review of this, the Cooler Master Devastator 2, the $30 mouse and keyboard combo. Is it worth it? Quite possibly, but you have to watch to find out. Maybe you'll care about the case I reviewed already. So this thing, I put a different build inside of it, talked all about the case, everything I liked about it. It's a great $42 case. You cannot, well, you can go wrong with $42. $43 actually after shipping, or whatever. There's a PC part picker link in the description of everything I bought and the price I bought it at. I think I put down the price I bought it at in the description, so you can go check that out if you're that curious. So, have a nice day. Oh.
Kitty, I'm talking to you. Look at me. Hey, kitty. Love me. Love me, kitty. He's so cute. Hey, Fee, wanna meet people? No? Okay, bye.
Okay, this is, let me see. This is the Xeon, I think 560BK, which is for black. Nice box. Look at this foam though. Now this case was about $43 after shipping. It was about $40 beforehand. Foam, not bad. Now I should look at their website to see exactly what materials are used, but it's a glossy metal it looks like, and it's astonishing to say the least. Look at that glossy reflective metal. We have one thing, vent up here for a 120mm fan. We have a fan up here installed. There's one in the front as well. Yeah, there's a front blue LED fan up here. They're both Molex. They're not PWM. We have actual thumb screws, unlike some cheaper cases I've seen in the past. But on some cheap cases, they just use the cheapest screws I've ever seen. Now I'll take out the side panels for you. The side panels are identical other than one thing, so they are reversible, except looks like the mounting, there's meshing on both sides, but there's holes right here for mounting. I can't tell what size that is, maybe 80mm to, I mean, you could even do 120, but when you take this off, oh, black on the inside as well, not silver, like some cases are, just like silvery on the inside. The side panel, no flex at all. Well, I mean, if you flex it, it's gonna flex, but no like the wobbly kind of flex like I have seen on other cheap cases. They're very similar, except this one does not have the little mounting screws in this one, or the mounting holes. So they are reversible, but that's how you can distinguish which one is which. On the front, we have a USB 2.0, actually 2 USB 2.0s, USB 3.0, power and reset. Oh, this thing will attract hair, by the way. You see this hair right here? Kitty, you don't want to get into that. That's not yours. So this thing is a full piece, just comes off. Well, right here, you can kind of see how it's pieces right here, kind of wobbly. We got 3 5¼ inch bass. Actually, only 2 5¼ inch. This is a 3.5 inch. Only one comes kind of bent out. You have to bend these other 2 out. You don't have very much cable room back here. However, there are little tiny areas where you can use cable ties, which it does include. To install the 5¼ inch bass is pretty simple. You actually have different size for the mounting. So you can take these out and say if the mounting is a bit farther back, or you just want to put your if it's a bit larger, so you can kind of move those around. Right here's your SSD sled. It's kind of thin. This one actually kind of has some flex to it. Yeah, you just put your SSD on this side, I believe. Screw it in from the bottom, and you can go to town. 3.5 inch bays. And the mechanism for this, I've seen this on the something really similar on the Inwin GR1 or Inwin Grown. It was one of my first cases I've used, but they were kind of a bit more flexible in what you would do, because you see there's not really screws on the side. On those ones you had to like flex it outwards and put the drive inside. These ones, however, much better. That was a $100 case, and this one though, $40 case. It shows you instructions right here, right on the thing. You just pull them outwards, the pins pop out, just like that, and then yeah, just kind of pop it in there. See if I got that right, where the holes are at. There we go. Pop the sides in, and then it just slides inwards. That easy. These are easy sleds to use. There's a nice CPU cutout back here. Pre-installed standoffs. They're black. Now it's 1, 2, 3 screws, 1, 2, 3 down here, and then 1, 2, and you're missing one on this side, but that's okay because inside the bag of hardware you get one of the, it's a little plastic piece. I'll show you here in a sec, but you can put that on there if so your MATX board requires it. We have 4 PCI Express slots, that is correct. This one's the only one that you can unscrew. These ones just bend out, so let me unscrew this real quick. This one unscrews, the other ones just bend out, so I guess that's fine. I mean, how much money extra would that have costed? There's 2 grommets right here. Okay, let's go ahead and look at your headers. So you have your HD audio along with your, is this AC97? You got your USB, other USB, as well as USB 3.0. So these are the 2 USB in the front, or you can use this one there. And you do have cutouts for, see, power supply goes right here. Then you have your, for all your cables to probably go through from your power supply. And this is where either your 20 plus 4 pin would go through, 24 pin, whether if you had the skinnier MATX motherboard or the square one like I mentioned earlier. I guess you could use this for your 4-pin CPU, 4 to 8 pin, I'm not judging. And then over here as well, yeah, I guess you could use those. So you do get 5, I can count, 5 zip ties, which is very, very handy. Here's the manual, again, not helpful at all. You got a 200mm fan or 4 80mm fans. Here's your SSD slot again, your hard drives, that you're gonna have to guess what your screws are for. But don't worry, I'm here to the rescue, because I can maybe figure it out. So up here on our bag, we have another bag section. We get a speaker, a little beepy thing that beeps when your computer turns on, or when there's an error. They just kind of get in the way. So we get 3 types of screws. We get these ones. These are for your 5 1/4 inch bays. I know this because they're a bit bigger. Okay, so these you get 2, 4, you get 8 of these. I lied, there's one more. You get an extra 6 of these hex screws. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and allocate 4 of these little dome-shaped ones, little circle on them. I don't know what they're called, but that's what they are. 4 of those for the SSD, 2, 4, 6, 8 for the motherboard. Okay, so I lost some hardware that came with it. There's something along the lines of this thingy, but it's for, like, if your motherboard, say, is the big square that you don't have that extra standoff, so you'd kind of like put it through here and it'd sit against the case and wouldn't have to touch the case or just kind of be hanging there. Okay, so hardware. We got MSI AM1M. Now, we're not going for performance. We're going for what'll work, what I have on hand. Now we have an Athlon 5150 in here with the stock cooler. We have 2 gigs of RAM. That's all we really need. Instead of an SSD, I just brought a little 2.5 inch drive. This is 500 gig. Why not? Throwing a 970 right there. I know it's completely ridiculous, but this is not, again, just to show you what'll fit. I need to see card length. And a brand new EVGA 500 watt 80 plus bronze power supply. EVGA's power supplies, they look great. Just gonna have to move out of the way. This cannot reach. I must put it through. Actually, this it won't not fit either for the HD audio, so you're gonna need to route that around as well. We got some USB. 2 USBs are routed to this one, so it's going to USB 1. And we've got our headers. Also, something worth noting is that the feet on this are just tall enough to where you can put it on carpet, and it probably won't sneak in unless your carpet is pretty thick. The SSD slot does have a lot of flex to it, which is so far the only downside of this case, in my opinion. Next, let's do GPU before we do cable management. Okay, that came out quite easily. I don't know why they don't give you a couple more of these screws. There's only one of these, now it's for the PCI Express slot. Oh snap, that might be cutting into the motherboard. That is. Yeah, watch out. Tear these out before you put your motherboard in there, because it's kind of definitely hitting the motherboard. Because it could be an issue if you already have your board in here and you want to like add an expansion card. But yeah, it's going to be difficult because it could be scraping up your board. Might be running into some limitations here. No, it'll fit. Just have to go in this way first. There we go. So another couple inches at least if you're not putting cables in the way, which I will have to shove all of those cables in there. But yeah. Or if you don't have a USB 3.0 port right here, it's handy that they do just have just USB right here, so you can just connect that and the port will just work as the speeds of a USB 2.0. So over here, I just used the screw it came with as well as the extra hex screw I had. So by default, these match up right along the holes right here. Matches up on both sides, so I assume that's right where it needs to be. Nifty. And you will see the label of your CD drive. I don't have enough SATA cables for everything. We don't need the hard drive plugged in. Issue. You're gonna have to put the 90 degree in here if you use an SSD, because the SSD is laying flat against here. You will not have room for your 90 degree SATA cable. Plugging in your SSD should come in the same step as installing it. I say this because I cannot get my fingers in there. There. So that's why I was saying you might want to wait before you plug in your SSD. So you have to plug in both those cables. And now you're a bit more free. Fucking actually. This is very conflicting. Oh wait, no. I got it. It just slides back to that little hook, and there we go. And the cables are in. Yes, that is a keyboard sitting on the ground. Don't judge. Power? Oh, I think I know what the issue is. Boom! And there we go. Do not blow up. Actually, that equals views. Blow up, please. So I'm going to put on the side panels in a second, but I just want to show you. Blue fan. Very blue indeed. A very nice vivid blue. We got some LEDs right here for power. Get in there. You're not wanted. You're obsolete. That's a nice bit of air coming out the back through that fan right there. And and it closes. That one's easier. Best $40 case I've ever seen. So guys, if you liked, you can leave a like if you would like. Zion, you get a big thumbs up from me. Keep doing what you're doing. See you guys next time.
$30, man. Just $30. And you can have a full backlit mouse and keyboard from Cooler Master. But, is it worth it? It depends. I use the G502 Proteus Core from Logitech. It's my favorite mouse of all time. It's $60, and for the same price you can get a G502 Proteus Spectrum, which wasn't out when I got mine. For keyboard, I use a G710 from Logitech. It has Cherry MX blue switches, 6 macro keys, and lights up white. However, I'm actually thinking of switching to a 10 keyless non-keyboard soon because I need extra space on my desk. Let's begin with the aesthetics because you know I'm all about the aesthetics. The keyboard, first of all, comes in 3 colors, red, green, and blue. The one I chose was blue. My only complaint about the keyboard is that you have to re-enable the LEDs upon every time you turn on the computer through the scroll lock button. 4 multimedia keys, stop, pause/play, back, and next, which all work really well with Spotify. And 2 volume buttons, increase and decrease, which is great inclusion for a keyboard in this price point. The whole build is plastic, but it doesn't feel bad, and there is a bit of glossy plastic right below the keys, as well as there are 2 feet that can raise up the keyboard. Honestly, I love this keyboard. It feels very sturdy and I don't mind its mechanical switches that are in fact Cherry MX compatible. It's kind of sort of difficult to see the letter of the keys at some angles because the LEDs aren't in the keys themselves like many Cherry MX switches, but instead the letter is just hollow plastic while the bottom of the keyboard is illuminated. The other downside is no onboard memory, so again you have to re-enable the LEDs every single time. Not a huge deal in my experience, but would be nice to have lit up automatically. The cable is 1.8 meters and doesn't feel the best quality in the world. And now for the mouse. It's not my favorite thing in the world. I mean, it feels great, just like the keyboard. And unlike the keyboard, the LEDs are automatically activated. There's nice rubber on the sides for nice grip, as well as back and forward keys on the side, which I love, because the forward key on the mouse is what I bind as my push-to-talk key in CSGO. The mouse wheel is nice as well, no complaints there. There is a solid click as well, no left or right mouse wheel though, but it's not something I really miss having as a feature. Not something I really use anyway. 3 DPI controls. The site says 500 to 2000, but further down it says 1000, 1600, and 2000, which is pretty conflicting. I use the lowest DPI, again, because I play CSGO. The DPI toggles are right under the mouse wheel and are indicated by the brightness of the LED. What kills it for me is the liftoff distance. And I'm calling bullshit on lower liftoff distance because it's pretty high and too high for my liking. Like at least a centimeter. I had to switch back to my G502 mid-comp because every time I tried moving my mouse all the way back to the other side of my mouse pad to turn quickly, it was just awful. Hard to describe my dilemma, but in a word, awful. But again, $30, when my mouse by itself is $60, and I can't complain. This is a killer deal, and if you're just starting out, go for it. It won't last forever, but it's not bad, especially for the money. So if you guys enjoyed, please leave a like and subscribe if you would like to see more videos by me in the future, and tell me if you like these short videos like this. See you guys next time.
Hello. I was just at Fry's Electronics, so I have 3 things. Gonna review them all eventually. Just gonna unbox them real quick because I have stuff to do today. So right here, I've already used one of these before. A68 HM Grenade motherboard by MSI. It'll support FM2 and FM2 Plus processors. Kind of cool, but it's also pretty cheap. Got IO Shield. State of the cables, we have a full straight and a straight and a 90 degree and a straight, you know. Little user guide as well as an easy setup guide, a quick installation guide, and installation or drivers underneath that. Here's the motherboard itself. I have shoes on, hopefully I don't kill this stuff. Anti-static bag, and inside that we have the board itself. This one has red LEDs in the back. When you turn it on, it'll light up in 4 areas on the back, red. It's pretty cool when you see it in person. On the side we have this will be for APUs and such, so there are all 3 types of displays other than DisplayPort. We have HDMI, DVI, and VGA with 4 USB 2.0, 2 USB 3.0, your basic audio, though a whole section of the motherboard is cut off for that. PCI Express 60 slot. You can't forget about that PS2.
I'm sick.
Don't be sick.
Okay.
Off on the board.
No, I just had to point that out because I'm making a lot of weird sounds right now.
We have some SATA and USB 3.0, which is pretty cool. And then, yeah, so there's that. That was the motherboard. Next, we have the processor. We have an A6 7470K. This is a Godavari processor. And last time I used this, I had an A4 7300, I think. So this is slightly better. This actually has integrated R5 graphics, while the other one had, I think, 8470D integrated. I need something to cut this open. Have you got a knife? Sweet. That's a key. Okay, same thing. That's an out. Oh. And here we have got the cooler with the CPU. Keeping all my boxes. Here's a cooler. Advanced micro devices. And this will have its own sheet of thermal paste at the bottom. I have a feeling this processor is going to get to 80 degrees at all times, so I'll probably use a different cooler because this is not good. I have a ton of coolers down here. Here's one for the X4 860K, so I'll probably use that. It's
88, wasn't it?
no, you got the 860K.
Oh, I was thinking my motherboard.
No.
I'm not good with computers, guys.
Yeah, probably a lot more thermal dissipation right here. So I'm gonna be using this probably on that.
That'll work with the red.
Okay, great. Plus, there's a big copper base on the bottom instead of this aluminum bulk cap.
That bull hockey.
And then here is the processor. A series
Yeah,
sticker.
that looks like mine.
It does. They all look the same.
Racist.
Lastly, something I don't think I'm gonna keep very long. R7 250 with 2 gigs of DDR3. This was $65, and I could either gotten this or an R7 240 with 2 gigs of GDDR5. So I chose this one just because it was using DDR3. Plus, this one, the deciding factor was that it looked cooler than the other one. So, drivers and manual thingy. I'm gonna get the graphics card. And let's see how good this looks. Not bad. We have some glossy plastic. PCB is really sharp. So, got a little fan right here. I like how the blades look, little fins. We've got a really glossy. Actually, this is very plastic.
It is black.
This is very plastic. Hey, no. Yeah, we've got these covers are all red and stuff. Hey, what do you think they're doing?
I'm taking your covers off.
Not covers.
What's this one?
HDMI.
Look, guys, it's a fake DMI.
Well, you know I have the GT710 and GT730, but this is one of my very first really bad AMD cards I've gotten. I actually don't even know if I can dual graphics this, which I don't think I can, because that's integrated R5 with the processor. I don't think I can dual graphics it. If I could, that'd be pretty cool. But I'll see how good this is compared to that, and just review all 3 of these in the future. So that's a really tiny unboxing of 3 different products. So, kill me.
Look forward to 90s build.
Okay, she's leaving. I know Zen's coming very soon and I can't wait. So here's something from AMD, came out a little while ago, on the cheap side, say $70. Now I don't want to hear it. I know you can get the Athlon X4 860K for around $70 or $80, and I'm gonna be straight up. This sucks. It has 2 physical cores, however in every program like Cinebench and Windows Task Manager, it shows up as 1 core and 2 threads. I try not to let that bother me because I know the way AMD's cores work are different from Intel's. It's clock tie though, 3.7 GHz with the ability to boost to 4 GHz, and the cherry on top is it's unlocked. The biggest bottleneck of the APU in my opinion is not even the 2 cores, it's the 1 meg of L2 cache. It makes everything noticeably slower than it should be. Even while using an SSD as my main drive in these tests, it's noticeably delayed. So far there's no reason to go with this rather than the X4 860K, which is also unlocked, has 4 physical cores, and 4 megabytes of L2 cache. However, it does not have onboard graphics. And that's the only selling point I see this guy has. It has onboard R5 Radeon graphics clocked to 800 megahertz. So real quick, here's a realistic parts list of what you should be using with this processor. No aftermarket cooler, as long as you don't plan on doing any overclocking. More on that later. The motherboard was cheap and has all the features you need for this APU, other than official overclocking support, which you can do that on many boards anyway. The RAM is exactly what I have here, 8 gigabytes of 2133 MHz memory from G.Skill, higher clocked memory of course for the iGPU. Here's a 1 terabyte hard drive, however I would personally go with the 120 gig SSD for slightly cheaper because I prefer speed over capacity. Lastly, here's a cheap case. And a system like this will be fine with the case that comes with the PSU. What? What's that? Don't use those PSUs? Boy, all these tests are being run off a 300 watt SFX power supply, generic power supply that came in a case, and it's perfectly fine. I even overclocked to 4.4 gigahertz, and I've been using this thing for a couple of years, so I don't want to hear it. The total is $230, and that's really freaking cheap for the hardware of a computer build. And that's a plausible build, including this APU. Now the system I'm using is actually different. I'm using an MSI A68HM Grenade motherboard. I've used this one before previously in another video, but this isn't the exact one. I bought another one because it was cheap. That 8 gigabytes of 2133 MHz memory I talked about earlier, 300 watt power supply that came with an old case, an SSD for boot drive with a hard drive housing all my games on it. And lastly, good God, what is that thing on top? Okay, I have tried. This thing runs so hot. I thought maybe I wouldn't have this problem anymore because this has got a Vari, not like a Kaveri processor I did a video on with 4 cores that ran at 90 Celsius. So I thought maybe the little refresh would slightly fix how hot their APUs got. But that's classic AMD. All God of Vari really did was give a slight boost to the GPU. It didn't really improve thermals or IPC at all. Before we jump into performance metrics, I'm gonna go ahead and tell you what you would be using this processor for. You're not a heavy use case individual. You play small games, and I'll tell you which ones work well in a minute. And you're not looking for a discrete GPU, and that's the important part. Because if you're getting a discrete GPU, you might as well go with the faster X4860K. And no, as far as I know, you cannot use dual graphics mode with this and like an R7 240 or 250. But if I'm wrong, do correct me in the comments. If you use this okay, well thank you, Sunrays. If you use this processor, you're best off using integrated graphics, because if you're not, there's no reason to get this. Alright, now let me show you what this little $70 chip can do. So what can the A6 7470K run? At 4.2 gigahertz, because that is what MSI automatically overclocked to when I clicked on the OC Genie button in the BIOS. BioShock, the old one, at 720p medium-high settings, and the remastered one at 1080p, this is really weird, don't ask why this makes any sense, 16x anisotropic filtering, anti-aliasing on, and it got around 30 FPS average on a fight with a Big Daddy. Unfortunately, the new LEGO Star Wars was too demanding, got the complete saga at 1080p. Castle Crashers 1080p Ultra, consistent 60 FPS. You can play Rocket League if you turn down a couple of settings, say 900p with the quality settings with low FXAA. Trine, an older indie game, at 720p high settings. CSGO, even at lowest settings, still around 40 FPS average, which is just unplayable. I couldn't do it. Oblivion, medium settings at 720p, around 50 to 80 FPS. There is some legroom there for higher settings. Escapist runs great. Starbound, 720p, around 45 FPS, which is perfectly fine for a 2D game like that. Left 4 Dead 2 at 900p, medium-high settings, 60 to 80 FPS. And lastly, Minecraft, max settings, I ran on 1.10.2, 900p, with only 8 chunks, because that's actually what killed it, was turning up the render distance. Now if I turn the chunks up, my FPS would just drop. So this APU actually does great on lighter titles at a lower resolution, typically, with no graphics card required. So what do you think about this APU? Leave a comment, and I will see you guys next time.
Why are you even mentioning the GTX 770 cam? It's 2 generations old now. How is this relevant? Well, I picked up this bad boy on eBay for 120 bucks. As well as a few weeks ago, I got a whole freaking 780 for $140. I got both of them by a bid. It'll be long gone by the time this video is posted, but at the time of typing out the script, there was an EVGA GTX 770 currently at $93 with 50 minutes left, and 4 other 770s for around $120 to $130, which is a killer deal. And we will compare it to the most popular card as of today, the GTX 970, which retails for as little as $300. However, a better deal would be the GTX 1060, which is the 3 gig version, is about $120, and I'd say the value is around $200 of this card. Now, we know this card is so much better. It's better than a 780. Please leave a comment and or a like if you want to see the 780 against my 970, because I would have to go borrow it from a friend who I sold it to. We begin with the aesthetics. My 970 is white and black. This was a result of a paint job I did, and I have 2 videos talking about painting components, both including this exact cooler from MSI. Illuminated MSI logo, 3 smaller and 2 larger heat pipes. You also have a 6 and 8 pin for power. Such a beauty. MSI is my favorite brand to go get motherboards and graphics card from for the aesthetics. The 770, however, features MSI's Twin Frozer 4 cooler. The fins look pretty fancy, and I like the gaming series logo on the middle of this card. I have one of those both on mine and my brother's case. On this card you have 4 tiny heat pipes on one side and a larger one on the other. This card actually has 2 8 pins for power. specless time. We're going to be using the overclock modes, which you can get through MSI's gaming app software. The base clocks are 1137 and 1140 respectively. The boost clocks are 1198 and 1297. The CUDA cores, 1536 on the 770 and 1664 on the 970. Memory clocks are both 7010 megahertz, and the VRAM 2 or 4 gigs on the 770. Mine has 2 gigs, and on the 970 we have 4 gigs. Bus width, they're both 256 bits. The test bench consists of an i5 4670K clocked at 4 GHz, 16 gigabytes of 1600 MHz DDR3 RAM, and I don't really think the rest of the system is relevant in terms of performance, so I'll leave all the specs in the description in case you're curious. Let's see the scores now, shall we? So the 970 is obviously much faster, but the 770 is good enough for what it is, and for being half the price used. What do you think about the 770? Is it still plausible for today as a graphics card for modern games? No, it's faster than a 760 in some cases. And also there are 4 gigabyte versions of the 772 in case VRAM is your issue, which I still don't think 2 gigabytes is that bad for some games. Thanks for watching this video. I have a lot of stuff coming up, so stay tuned, people. It would be pointless for me to do a full review of a card that came out 3 years ago, but I might as well get something out of it. So here, a super quick review of the R7250 from MSI. To start off, it comes with this stuff in the box. It has a plastic body with one fan, it's not really loud and runs about 57 degrees. It has these video outputs and can take 2 displays. It has 512 stream processors, 8 compute units, a core clock of 1050 MHz, boost to 1.1 GHz, but mine does not overclock very well at all. It has 2 GB of DDR3 memory on a 128-bit bus clocked to 1800 MHz, and it has DirectX 12 API as well. I'm running a Haswell i5 at 4.6 GHz with 16 GB of RAM. And here are some different games tested. Lastly, CSGO. If you don't want it, don't buy it. In most cases, you should not buy this. It's a very bad price to performance. Thanks for watching. I'm gonna go throw this away.
Cam, I need your help writing a... What are you doing, dude?
I'm sick of this everlasting nightmare, so I'm hanging myself with a hanger.
That's not what they're made for. Stop.
Can I say pass gas in math class?
What? No. Why?
Can I growl?
Stop. Stop that. First we need a plot. A story people can relate to.
A song about a girl,
Perfect.
and she hangs herself.
Stop it.
A sad song about a boy.
Don't say it.
Discovers a hidden talent
Go on.
for killing himself.
God damn it. You were on a roll. You know what? Let's just improvise. Cold shower. I need a bag of flour. Satisfy my needs. Little boy playing on the swing. Pinocchio wouldn't know. 5 hours sober, For what more than a toaster?
I'm just a boy trying to pass some math class.
Cold shower, yet no flower, filled with greed.
That was awful.
Terrible. Just terrible.
Cold shower, I need a bag of flour, satisfy my needs. Little boy playing on the swing, Pinocchio wouldn't know. 5 hours sober, for what more than a toaster?
I'm just a boy trying to pass some math class.
Cold shower, yet no flower, filled with greed.
Oh, I can't wait to die. So, this is obviously a different kind of video. So, if you get offended easily, what are you even doing on the internet, you fat fuck? So, a lot of you, and I mean a lot of you, really hate the idea of me using an i3 in the gaming build video. So, as a lot of you know, Core i3 processors only have 2 cores. But they're hyper-threaded. And a lot of games require 4 cores, or 4 threads. 4 threads, which an i3 has. You guys get really offended about that I used one, and that's really fucking cute. And, let's read off some of the comments now, shall we? Oh, this is gonna be fun.
An i3 is not exactly a gaming processor. It should have gotten an i5, am I right?
He has no idea! He has no idea! I don't get that one. I guess I don't, because I have no idea what you're talking about. This build makes no sense. And then some guy's like, well, why doesn't it make sense? He's just like, shut up, peasant! The fuck?
I would have gotten an i5.
Gaming PC. i3.
Good job, guys.
Well, you don't know what you're on about. And he goes, yeah, you don't need an i7 4.5 gigahertz. Overclocked water-cooled to game, lol.
You could easily have built a PC better performance at a similar price.
Yo, fuck, you can today. Yeah. But you couldn't back then. Because things came out since then. Oh, this one's good. I dislike the video not for being bad, instead because you could tell this is not your PC or money by the way you're handling it. How am I mishandling? Like, they're not that fragile. Like, if I lick this, yeah, it's dead. I don't think you know that, like, and then I can do whatever. Actually, no, this is broken. But you don't have to hold, like, things are more anti-static than you might first think. And I dropped a stick of RAM. Oh god, that wasn't intentional. It's fine. Oh, this dumbass.
Instead of 16 gigabytes RAM, you could have easily used an 8 gigabyte and got a 120 gigabyte SSD.
No shit. That wasn't the plan. If you had watched the video, you would know that he didn't mean to buy the other 8 gigabytes. That wasn't the alternative. He didn't mean to spend the other 30 bucks.
I'd use an i3 for surfing, internet, as movie maker. That's about it.
Are you fucking dumb?
A 750 watt power supply for them components?
What a waste of money. Except you didn't watch the fucking video. Or you know why there's a 750 watt power supply. He didn't have to buy one because I gave it to him for pretty cheap.
Noobs.
This guy. Kids these days. Oh, kids. Oh, fucking kids. Except,
You're just like the other kids. Subscribe to Jacksepticeye and Leafy. Oh, we got a Leafy fan here, boys. The new i3 had me so good. Cry. Okay, this guy is so fucking dumb. Limfow. You have DDR4 but an R9 380. I have DDR3 and a GTX 1070. Like, that doesn't correlate at all. Like, those two things have nothing to do with each other. He says, I just think it's funny because you have expensive RAM, but a cheapest GPU, lol. No. DDR3 versus DDR4 is not a huge price difference. I don't think you understand that at all. Should have saved money and gotten better parts. Oh. Should I get the i3 6100 or i5 6500? I'll be playing games like GTA 5 and games which both use GPU and CPU intensely. I'm also getting an RX 480. This guy recommends an FX processor. And the original commenter goes, if you meant the FX 8320, just stop. I'm not wasting my money on a 5+ year old Pro CPU, the Bottleneck 750 Ti. It's terrible for what you pay, especially for gaming. Okay. And this guy gets so triggered.
Overclockable, it's not 5 years old, and I have one on my PC. I'm running an R9 380 without issue, so please show a little respect before you criticize.
What a fucking idiot. Don't buy FX CPUs. If you buy an FX CPU today, you're fucking stupid. It's that simple. Just don't. It's easy. Just pay for something else. Anything, please, I'm serious. Don't buy an FX 8320 or anything like that. Another guy with the fucking power. Okay. People, if you watched the fucking video, if you paid any attention, instead of going straight to the comments, you would know why there's a 750 watt power supply. I already had it. I'm just giving it to him for cheaper than you could buy an actual power supply. That doesn't mean he could have gone with a CX500M or EVGA power supplies, which are slightly cheaper, and then bought an i5. There's no compromise there. There wasn't a choice. He only wanted to spend so much, and I helped him with that by using a power supply that I didn't need.
I would have just done 8 gigabytes and the RAM, put the money aside for a better CPU, haha.
Fucking it, you're fucking stupid. You're an idiot. Understand that, please.
Why not do an AMD CPU?
I can't tell if he's serious or not.
You used an i3 for a gaming build? Not a good choice.
Shut the fuck up.
But 2 cores is not the best for gaming. Why not like an i5 or something with more cores?
Hyper-threading. I know it's not the same thing. Fucking idiot.
Should have went with an i5 CPU.
Oh my god, okay. Now I can get to the point of this video. So other than the fact that there are an unlimited amount of dumbasses on the planet, especially in my comment sections, I don't think I understand the performance difference between an i3 and an I will show you, which is why I'm making this video. But you don't understand the price difference. There are parts at cheaper prices for a reason, and that reason is because you could buy them. The i3 is not a bad choice, and I'll show you why. You're just fucking stupid.
An i3. An i3. Why an i3?
I think some people deleted comments because I just see his and that's it. He says, no, it's a pretty shit CPU. Well, my i7-4790 with hyper-threading is better. And that's what's really funny, is that you spend at least $100 more on what you probably don't even need at all. And that's cute. Okay, what people don't understand is that, an i3 is $100, which seems like a lot of money to some of you folk, but that's not a lot in computers. And an i5, which I do agree is a better choice for gaming, is $200, twice as much. And an i7, which you probably don't fucking need if you're just playing games, is $300, 3 times as much. Now, if it can justify the price to performance, go for an i5. Spoiler alert, it fucking doesn't. Here are performance numbers
I'm gonna show you between the i3-6100, 16 gigs of RAM, and my 970, which wasn't in that video. I just wanted to use the same graphics card for performance, getting that all together, versus my i5 at the same clock speed, 3.8 gigahertz, with 16 gigs RAM in the 970, and you will see that, well, there's issues here at first, but hopefully I fixed them later. But currently, in the old benchmarks I did, the i3 beat my fucking processor, and you can say, that's not fair! Because you use DDR4, and the i3 uses DDR3, and the i3 uses DDR4, and that's not right, right? It doesn't fucking matter, RAM speed's not gonna make a difference. It's really not. It hasn't since DDR3 became a thing. No, another thing I have to look at is IPC, so roughly if I'm using an i5 at 3.8 gigahertz, but it's like a 4th gen and then like a 6th gen i3, which is the exact comparison here, the same clock speed, the i3 will be faster per clock because it has a 10% improvement, so the i3 will lose out clock per clock, but it does have 2 more physical cores, which is the main difference we're looking at here. And the i5 can lose in scenarios I've seen, or there's no difference at all. Other games, there is a significant difference. Like, I chose only 3 titles here, like GTA 5, Fallout, and Doom. Like, a lot of you are just fucking idiots, and you need to understand that. But you're not completely wrong. So now let's go to this more serious part. Take off the glasses of the sunglasses of unseriousness, and an i5 is a better option. However, sometimes you don't have the money. Sometimes you don't want to spend the money. Sometimes you don't need to spend the extra money. Like people who buy i7s, you probably don't fucking need it. If you want a balanced system, spend $200 on the graphics, spend $200 on the processor. An i5 and the X80 variant of AMD and the X60 variant of NVIDIA, and you're golden. Unless you need more or less. And in his case, he really didn't need to spend more. And that's what you guys need to see. And if you want to be a fucking idiot and comment on my video, go ahead. You'll just get told off. So, have a good one, guys. And if you got offended, I apologize, but sometimes you just need it. You need to lighten up if you got offended in this video. It was for comedy purposes.
So you have a computer, but you're using a stock cooler. Is it worth it to upgrade? Well, you'll definitely get cooler temps, allowing for more overclocking headroom. They may be quieter than a stock cooler, and you probably already know you can go with an all-in-one liquid cooler, or for about $30, you could get a Cooler Master Hyper 212 Evo. But if you're considering going cheaper, say $10 or $20, is it worth it? To find out, I went to my local Fry's Electronics and picked up 4 different CPU coolers, ranging from $9 to $20, all from Silenex. And if you're looking for these coolers yourself, I would go to Fry's.com because they appear to be cheaper than from other online retailers. So we got 2 cheaper low-profile models, the 92HA2 and the 100HA2. These both have an unusual circular aluminum fin layout, and be careful because they bend easily. And the smaller $9 model has a 92mm fan, with the larger $12 model has a 100mm green fan. Next, the other 2. These ones are much larger and they may only fit a couple of build aesthetics. The $16 80HA3 with the red 80mm fan, and then the larger $20 92HA3, which has a, you guessed it, a red 92mm fan. Both heatsinks are all copper, and all these fans have a 3-pin PWM header for the motherboard. Let's talk about hardware included. They all come with a cooler, quite obviously, a mounting bracket for LGA LM56 through LM51, as well as LGA 775, if you're using an Intel CPU. If you're using an AMD processor, you won't need this bracket. They will have a baggie of hardware containing 4 white pushpin thingies and 4 black pushpin thingies, as well as complementary thermal paste, ranging from the little ones in little packets to the reusable tubes, which is nice of them. They also have a manual, which isn't that bad. The larger fans will come with an additional 4 rubber thingies that are already on the side with the fan, and those are meant for you to install another fan on the other side, if you so choose. On one side of all 4 boxes we see a list of ratings in various categories, like cooling performance, dimensions and case compatibility, noise level, and ease of installation. And of course, for their own ratings and their made up categories, they'll give themselves good ratings. And these are compared to what? What are these compared to? Because even their $9 cooler looks pretty high up on the charts. And furthermore, both of the bigger ones share the same scores. What if you put a water cooler scores through this? Because they're not great coolers, because you can't get much worse than stock. So let's go through these real quick and I'll give you what their actual scores are based on my opinion. Cooling performance. I give them a 4, 4.5, 5, and 5.5 respectively, because I'm basing this between a stock cooler and my H105 from Corsair. I do see a couple degree improvements as you go up each cooler, and a stock speeds with the 92 HA3, it was 9 degrees cooler under load than a stock Intel cooler, however it was 11 degrees hotter than the H105, which I'd probably give an 8 in terms of cooling performance, when liquid nitrogen is out of the equation. While I'm talking about temps, to get them I use Arctic Silver thermal compound, and then after booting up the computer I let it run a while until I found my idle temp, and then I ran Cinebench to get my max. And in my experience, they actually get a lot hotter on Cinebench than on IDA64. I tested each cooler at 3 GHz to represent a cooler running processor, then at my processor's stock speeds at 3.4 GHz, which turbos to 3.8, and lastly 4 GHz to represent a hotter running processor. However, it's a totally different story if you go with AMD. You'll probably get 90 degrees still, just like the stock cooler. Dimensions and compatibility. Now these are tricky. Yeah, sure, they're quite small, and I'm sure they'll fit in most cases unless you're trying to put the bigger ones into a Silverstone RVZ02 or a Fractal Design Node 202. But in terms of dimensions, in my experience, it's bad. My motherboard was too good for the bigger coolers. My motherboard has 2 big freaking heat sinks for them to fit, so I had to go back to Fry's and get the last LJ1150 motherboard they had to fit the damn thing. And for $70, which was overpriced for this motherboard, and I probably won't even be able to return it because I left the receipt in another city. Rip me. The little coolers just barely fit, so I'll give them an 8 in this category, and I hate the mounting, and if they were improved, that'd be perfect. But they do have a small size enough to fit in HTPCs. However, the other 2 do not deserve the rating they gave themselves. I give it a 4 in terms of compatibility. Sure, they will fit in most PCs, but not where the motherboards have large heat sinks. Some will not fit without permanently damaging or scraping the metal. Noise level. Here's a sound test for all 4 coolers as well as an ambient noise. Now, I've definitely heard louder fans, but I'd probably say 7 is more reasonable, and the 100 HA2 was probably broken, and I'm pretty sure it was already returned when I bought it. The fan was always going at full 2400 RPM, even when going into my UEFI and trying to change it manually. However, the other ones did not have this issue. Lastly, ease of installation. Installing these is a bitch, because I've already mentioned my issue with them. They all had the same bracket to install. You simply put the white things through the 4 corners of the bracket that sits on top of the 4 mounting holes on the motherboard. Then the black pins go through there to secure it. Then you take the cooler, which is where it gets hard. When mounting, you have to apply a good amount of pressure, and I was super worried I was going to break it or permanently bend the metal. The cooler is usually my least favorite part of building a computer, and this sealed it. A solid 3 is my rating. So there, Silonex. That's what I think of your ratings. Cooling performance is mediocre. They're short enough to fit in most cases, but the mounting is too wide, especially in my scenario, and the noise is fine, and the installation sucks. Your coolers are cheap, however, so the value is there. The cheapest one, the 92 HA2, is just as cheap as the Intel stock cooler that can be found on eBay, but its performance is pretty much identical. The 92 HA3 really isn't that bad of a cooler for $20, and it's a good size. I wouldn't recommend these unless your stock cooler killed itself, like mine have, by the cables getting too close to the blades, or you could have just not have a stock cooler for any reason. The larger $16 and $20 models can be upgrades for the stock cooler, but if you're looking for an actual good upgrade, please consider the Cooler Master Hyper 212 Evo for $30. I have used it in the past, and I couldn't get temps because I don't have mine on me at the moment, unfortunately, but I would choose that over any of the coolers I showed you here today. So thank you guys for watching. These all literally say it's compatible with an Intel Core i9 processor. That's really cute.
Satala do shilo. Sai va da satala. Sai MTT crying boy gentle. Run my bounty Sunday. No day were to sick alone.
The Intel Core 2 Quad Q6600. 10 years old and originally costed a hefty sum. However, they can be picked up used on eBay for around $15 to $20, but I got mine $40 brand new. Something you do have to consider if you're thinking of picking up one of these is that the LGA 775 boards aren't all cheap. And if you plan to overclock like I will later in this video, then you may want to put that into account. I got my board cheap, but most of you may not be so fortunate scrolling around on eBay. From what I read about overclocking, X48 and P45 chipsets are the best, while P41 and P35 have support but are limited. Correct me in the comments if I'm wrong, as well as add to my list of OC supported chipsets. I'm using a P35 chipset, but I could still overclock easily. Finding DDR2 can be a struggle. A lot of used DDR2 RAM on eBay will say, for AMD only, and I don't know how accurate this is. I recall buying some that didn't work, but I think it was just really bad RAM, because I hear it's all for marketing. Eventually, I found 8 gigs of some Kingston RAM that worked perfectly at 800 megahertz. Now, RAM speed does matter on these old processors, unlike today. I don't want to run with a stock cooler on this chip because it can get very hot, especially since I'm overclocking. I'm going to be using my H105 from Corsair. A bit overkill, I know, and it actually doesn't even have proper mounting for LGA 775, so I'm just going to kind of like lay the block on the CPU. A quick recommendation for a cooler is, of course, the Hyper 212 Evo from Cooler Master. It's not a blind recommendation that I'm giving just because everyone else recommends it. I've actually used it and it's not bad for $30.
Saturday. News, deck, and the Lucy. Nulty, gas fan. This model will die. Is what I say. Oh, Polo, Ravla, Cord to Quad. Psycho.
Here are the full specs of the system. The Q6600 at 2.4 GHz stock speeds, and I've overclocked it to 3 GHz successfully, as well as a tiny step further to 3.5. I'm using the H105 from Corsair, like I mentioned, so the thermals aren't to fret from. I'm using the Gigabyte GA P35 DS3L, a board that'll be perfect for this CPU. I bought a used for $40 from some guy locally using Let Go. I have 8 GB of 800 MHz DDR2 Kingston memory, a 256 gig Crucial MX200 for the boot drive, and a 2 TB Seagate Barracuda that houses our games. A Corsair CX600M to power everything, and finally our graphics card, the GTX 970 from MSI. This is of course to try to eliminate the GPU bottleneck. Now I'm not finished yet. I'll be comparing it to my main system, rocking an unlocked Haswell i5, an MSI Z87 M-Power motherboard, 8 gigs of 1600 MHz Patriot memory, and the rest of the specs the same. I'll be using the i5 clocked at 2.4 GHz to match the stock frequency of the Core 2 Quad. This can be attested to the IPC from Kinsfield to Haswell, and I'm also pushing it to the i5 to 4.6 GHz. A bit extreme, but that's a good representation of a modern Intel quad core today. Now I want to address a couple of issues before we begin the benchmarks. With such older hardware, you're going to be getting some outdated features, like PCIe X16, nothing wrong with that, but oh, it's only Gen 1.1. That's rough. It's like running a Gen 2 8x or a Gen 3 at 4x. Could hold back some GPU power, yes. Next, it's running SATA 3. No issue there. Oh, but there it is. 3 gigabit per second, not 6 gigabit per second like we enjoy seeing. And another small thing, no USB 3.0. This was a time before 3.0 existed. Another obvious one, DDR2, no DDR3. Now we're going to be starting off with Cinebench R15. Now, these show you the stock speeds of the Q6600 receiving a score of 232 CB, but I'm not disappointed considering its age. Once you overclock, the CB goes way up, and at 3.5 GHz on the Q6600, you get 335 CB, 103 more than the original score. Now, these are the temperatures taken with Cinebench. Now, even with my super ghetto, just lay the CPU block on the processor because I don't have supported mounting, worked fine. I laid a tape measure on the top for a little bit of extra weight, and it did stay under 60 degrees stock. Max, it got to 66 degrees and overclocked, and those were at the hottest cores. The others stayed around 60 or 50 degrees. I'm pretty sure the reason why the temps between 3 GHz and 3.5 are so close is because the voltage was on auto, and when moving to 3.5, I had to put in my own voltage, being 1.462 volts. Now for quick reference, all games are being run at 1080p, and from bottom to top on the graphs, the items will go Q6600 at stock speeds, Q6600 at 3 GHz, Q6600 at 3.5, and then the i5 at 4.6 GHz. Here in 2 meter, the performance appears promising for this old chip, but unfortunately, the other tests won't look like this. 2 meter just happens to only scale GPUs. It's possible the couple extra FPS achieved with the i5 is a result of the higher PCIe bandwidth. Now in Bioshock Infinite's benchmark, the minimums like being really low and the averages crazily high. The maximums are so high that they weren't included because they aren't a reasonable metric of performance here. Thief's built-in benchmark is pretty demanding for the CPU, and it struggles achieving only early teens minimum and on average 30 stock and 40 when overclocked. I could consider Shadow of Mordor to be playable even at stock speeds, but moving to 3 and 3.5 GHz is a noticeable boost in performance. GTA 5 is a pretty CPU-intense game, so 16 minimum is expected, and when moving at high speeds, some textures glitch or just have to pop in. Overclocking doesn't just see a nice boost in FPS, but also a decrease in these texture errors. Now Fallout 4 is rough at stock speeds, but when overclocked a little bit, it can become playable. And of course, you can turn settings down. All the settings so far on these games have been pretty high. It should also be noted that VSync is present in this game. The benchmark for Rise of the Tomb Raider gives the stock speeds a 47 average, even though minimums were harsh. Once overclocked, the scores do improve and makes the game much more playable. Our second to last game, Cities Skylines, which was chosen because of how CPU intensive it is, and it really shows here. To get my scores, I used the Los Santos map for GTA 5 and zoomed down into downtown Los Santos and benchmarked 60 seconds with Fraps. Finally, CSGO. In case you're curious how I got these scores, I let Fraps benchmark 3 minutes of Deathmatch on Dust 2. Now with stock, FPS drops below 60, which shouldn't be allowed in a game like this. And thankfully, after overclocking, minimums stay above 60, and average in the high 90s. Again, like Bioshock Infinite, maxes weren't recorded because of how absurd they were. Our final graph shows the averages for every game we tested. The blue bar is the Q6600 at stock 2.4 GHz, and the green is how the equivalently clocked Haswell processor performs. This can be look at the architectures and see how much we progressed, and an IPC comparison on how that's progressed over the generations. Now, using the Q6600 isn't a bad experience. When using an SSD, the whole system still feels pretty quick and responsive. Sometimes things take a second or two to load or open, but this is a 10-year CPU holding up just fine. I think it's aged very well. And when overclocked, it helps everything feel faster and more snappy, like a modern processor. I was in fact surprised by the performance this thing still holds on to. When overclocked, it still plays games just fine as long as it's paired with a decent graphics card. It could cost you sub 100 for a CPU, motherboard, and RAM similar to these, and on a budget, this could still be a plausible option today. So tell me your thoughts on the Q6600, and I will see you next time. So I got this RX 460 a while ago, planning on doing a review, but I was a couple months late and then this came out, the GTX 1050 Ti. So I decided I would eventually get one too and just do a dual review, and it kinda works out how both are from Asus. But honestly, I would have gotten the MSI versions if they were available to me. Now I got different versions for both cards. On the RX 460, I got the beautiful Strix version with a, get this, an ROG RGB LED. Now that's pretty fantastic. Both have two fans and are very small. The 460's fans don't start spinning until you start using it pretty heavily, and it also features an additional 4-pin PWM connector which allows you to set a fan profile based on the GPU's temperature, while the rest of the fans are probably focused on the CPU's temperature. The 1050 Ti unfortunately does not have these features. The 460 requires a 6-pin power adapter, however the 1050 Ti can run perfectly fine off the PCI Express slot, no additional power required. And in my experience, this doesn't affect overclockability. In terms of I/O on the back of the cards, we see DVI, HDMI, and DisplayPort 1.4 on both of them. Now looking at specs, the 460 does have a good number of stream processors versus the number of CUDA cores that the 1050 Ti has. And the GPU clocks are very similar, however the 1050 Ti overclocks much higher, and you'll see that soon. They both have 4GB of GDDR5 memory on a 128-bit memory interface, and the 1050 Ti's memory is clocked slightly higher. The last thing to note is that the 1050 Ti costs a lot more. The 460 4GB version can vary from $110 to $120 and up, while the 1050 Ti starts showing up around $140 and $150. Now I know the GTX 1050 would be a better match in terms of performance to the RX 460, and it does cost about the same as the 4GB 460s. When I get my hands on one, I'll be sure to compare all three and benchmarks. Now I'm testing both these cards, including the last gen cards, such as the GTX 950 and the R7 360, which I've done reviews of both, only on the first three titles though. For the system, I'll be using an i5 4670K at 4.6 GHz, and 16GB of 1600 MHz Patriot memory. The rest of the specs will be in the description if you're really curious. I should also mention that the 460 has been overclocked to 1300 MHz, while the 1050 Ti to 1810 MHz. These two new cards are both overclocked because I'd always recommend if you have a budget card, you should always overclock for more performance. Oh yeah, and all games will be running at 1080p. I'll also only be showing minimums and averages. First, on Tomb Raider at ultimate settings, we see that both Nvidia cards beat out the RX 460, and the GTX 1050 Ti is even almost pulling 70 FPS on average. On BioShock Infinite, we see a very similar story where both Nvidia cards beat out both AMD cards. I know this graph says BioShock Infinite, but I promise it's Shadow of Mordor on very high settings. And finally, the RX 460 is ahead of the GTX 1050, but the 1050 Ti is still way ahead. On GTA 5, we see the RX 460 doing all red at high settings, while the 1050 delivers a very smooth gameplay. On Rise of the Tomb Raider, the GTX 1050 Ti gets almost 60 FPS minimum, while the 460 gets less than that on average. On Thief, the averages were actually very close on both cards, however the 460 manages to get less than 30 FPS minimum. Now the 460 was introduced as a budget way to play esports and MOBAs, and the only one of those I play is CSGO, so I did run that. And on max settings, it's not just getting playable, or 60 FPS, but you can actually pair this with a 120Hz monitor and be good, and that's great. Something I did notice on both cards, however, is that the game seems laggy or like locked at 30 FPS or something. Until you turn a setting down, turn it back on, and then it'll run smooth. Lastly, the temps here show that the RX 460 is much hotter. However, the fans are always spinning on the 1050 Ti, while they only starts to spin on the 460 once it gets hot enough. In conclusion, neither of these cards are bad options for a budget system, and I love the idea of gaming getting cheaper and cheaper. Now, again, I would love to get my hands on a GTX 1050 and compare all three of these cards. For now, I can say that these are not bad values, especially if you can get one on sale for close to $100. Anyway, thanks for watching, and I will see you next time. So you may be wondering why I'm treading into the waters of the Kabini processors from AMD, and really, I don't know. They're cheap. So Kabini is AMD's low-priced APUs which have a very, very low TDP, which is a surprise for AMD, and with built-in graphics. And get this, a few of them are full-on quad cores. For how much? Under $40 in some cases. Well, are you interested yet? What's the catch? Expensive motherboards? Nope, those are very cheap as well. Well, it's the clock speed. They're clocked way too low for today's standards. So here's a list of AMD's Kabini processors. The Athlon 2650, 2 cores at 1.45 GHz for $20 and not terrible. The 3850, 4 cores, 1.3 GHz, almost $40. The 5150, which is what I have for you today, 4 cores at 1.6 GHz for under $40. The Athlon 5350, 4 cores at 2.05 GHz, which used to be the top tier Kabini APU and also around $40, but recently AMD came out with the 5370, 4 cores but at 2.2 GHz, still very low. Our chip, like I mentioned, is the Athlon 5150, with 4 processing cores, each clocked at 1.6 GHz with 2 MB of L2 cache, with a TDP of 25 watts, that's super low, and you can actually run this passively cooled with some aftermarket heatsinks I've seen for this. Part of what makes this a good deal is the built-in Radeon R3 graphics, clocked at 600 MHz. Now that's nothing to brag about, but it does mean you can run this chip without a dedicated graphics card. Now, what would make these chips a great bargain is if you could overclock them. Well, what if I told you there was a way? Apparently, there's a BIOS update for the Asus AM1MA, which allows you to overclock. Unfortunately, I don't have that board here today. I have the MSI AM1M. The board doesn't have too many bells and whistles, the I/O isn't terrible, 4 USB 2.0 ports, 2 USB 3.0 ports, HDMI, DVI, VGA for your display outs, gigabit Ethernet, and basic audio. A single PCI Express X16 slot, Gen 2, and 2 PCI Express X1 slots, only 2 SATA 3 ports, kind of a bummer there, and lastly 2 DIMM slots for up to 16 GB of 1600 MHz DDR3 RAM. That sucks for the fact that AMD APUs can typically take advantage of higher clock memory, however this will not be able to. Something that bothers me is the placement of the USB 3.0 header smack dab in the middle of the board. A way that this chipset and these chips themselves are able to distinguish themselves from the rest of AMD is their mounting. And it's not AMD's mounting they've been sticking to for years. It's instead 2 holes diagonal from each other, and this makes it a tad harder to find an aftermarket cooling solution, which won't be a problem unless the noise gets to you. With these little chips come with a little heatsink with a tiny fan, and tiny fans are usually loud. Part of me finding out this chip's real value will include me to test games. I know this isn't really meant to be for gaming, but come on, like that stopped me in the past. The system I'll be running contains an Athlon 5150, the MSI AM1M, 8 GB of G.Skill Aries RAM, which would usually be able to be clocked at 2133 MHz, but they will be limited to 1600 MHz here. A crucial BX100 250GB SSD for the boot drive, and lastly a generic 300 watt power supply because this system will pull only over 100 watts. So let's go ahead and run some games. See how this thing runs. So at Tomb Raider 2013, low 720p, we're getting only an average of 25.1 FPS at the lowest settings. That is not playable. Next, CSGO lowest settings at 720p, an average of 48.8 FPS. I can't say that's playable either, especially for Counter-Strike. Morrowind, in Balmora, walking around and shit at 1024 by 768, 26.4 FPS average, not playable. Rocket League, lowest settings at 720p. Oh geez, okay, well there's a trend here. 22.7 FPS, not playable. The Escapist at 1080p, 33.9 FPS average. Now, that's not terrible. It's a very easy game to run, and you don't need high FPS for that, so I'd say that's sort of playable. Next Trine, very low 720p, 31.6 FPS average. I say that's moderately playable, but it is very low settings, but it's not that bad of a playing experience. Next, Left 4 Dead 2 720p lowest settings, 34.2 FPS. It's not exactly playable, but I was able to play through dead center. Next, Team Fortress 2 lowest settings, 720p. We get 28.9 FPS. Still not exactly playable. Now, and then we have Minecraft with 8 chunks, I think. Lowest settings, 720p. 69 FPS average, but a minimum of 17. So it was playable. I built a house and some stuff, and yeah, sure. Next, let's get to playable games. Games that were playable. Delver, 1080p, high settings. 59.2 FPS average, that's very good. Then, Castle Crashers, high settings, 1080p. 60 FPS average, 59 minimum. So that pretty much was a solid game. Half-Life, 1080p, 58 FPS. I'm pretty sure everyone could see that coming as a really playable game. It's a very, very old game. Then we have Super Meat Boy, 1080p. And I think VSync might have been able to, or at least half the refresh rate, because it seemed to be sticking at 30 FPS. I couldn't really change that, even though it looked like it could go way beyond that. It looked like it was stuck with some VSync enabled. Lastly, for a synthetic benchmark, we've sent a bench, and I got 125, which is not great, but let's be honest, that's fine for a $40 chip. So even if you aren't looking to game, this system can be bought for under $200 and is perfectly fine for an office PC, you know, for like Word documents and Spotify and other light things, YouTube. But it's not for gaming, so don't say that in the comments how bad a deal this is for gaming. I already said that here. This processor could have definitely taken advantage of higher clock speeds, like the higher up models, which don't cost a lot more, especially since they've dropped in price. Now, I honestly think this is a decent processor.
I thought, because I really don't like how messy this area's gotten, let me kind of walk you through my whole setup and then kind of redo it for you. So here's kind of when you walk in. Close that, it's still really early. We've got a coat hanger, don't worry about that. Really, I want to reorganize this whole area, so let me discuss where things are, where they might go, and what things cannot move. So, one thing that cannot move is the TV. That's going to be there. It's there to stay. So, it's kind of perfect to put that there because the futon was already here. But I might move this against the wall right there, and move, that against this wall, as well as that against this wall Kitty wants in. And all I might do with this desk is flip it around so the middle piece right here is in the corner. I'll show you later, but so I have more open space and not this little area to walk through, but I'll have a much larger space. One thing that can't move is this shelf right here. Kind of fixed it up. I might move some more things around. There's a random bottle on there. I was thinking this other desk over here next to my main desk, either underneath the TV right here or on this side, so that I don't really have to get up, because right now if I want to mess with the system over there, I have to be sitting down, get up, and walk over there and sit down at that chair, and then get up, move over here and sit back down, or I could move this desk over, and so they're pretty much connected, and just work off both at the same time. That would be handy, so let's get to cleaning real quick.
kitty. Doing some tweaks, but for the most part, I got this kind of sorted out. So my storage slash cubby spaces. First we got graphics cards right here. We got a storage and RAM. I have one more bit of RAM I can't find, but I'll get that later. Coolers and fans, mostly just coolers right now, and thermal paste. Then we have audio and camera stuff right down here. So we have like a bunch of microphone things and stuff. And then we have power supplies, which now I can fit another power supply back here. Right now I only have a little one, and then like an adapter for a little to big one, or SFX to ATX power supply. So like that. And then I have like modular cables and stuff. And then we have tools, but I might move this out because I don't know. And then I had shoes here, but I'm gonna put something else here. Maybe I'll move tools down. I have another blank space right here. Then I have like CDs and stuff, random stuff. So I might move audio down as well as tools down and put like motherboards or something. That might be more beneficial to me. Then I have a bunch of like screws up here I'm still working with. I'm trying to sort stuff. And also PCI Express stuff that'll go somewhere. And then I have mice, keyboards, headset, and I have a tripod down there, and I'll have another one right down here. Another one right now is set up. Overall, I have my storage over here. And then I'm still working on this whole area right here, but that's fine. It's not really relevant. And I have my second area right here, so the TV. And then I have a little monitor 4x3, as well as a little power supply is going to set up. I'm actually going to switch this out for the other one I have now, because I just got a new one. So I really do hope you guys enjoyed this little video thingy. And I would like to do more stuff like this, but I just thought this would, you know, I don't always have a ton of time to do a ton of things video-wise, but now I'm on break, so now I can hopefully work on computers a bit more often. It'd be really, really nice, and I'd really, really like that. So if you enjoyed, thumbs up would be nice. That'd be really cute of you. And then if you could ring that bell thingy, that'd also be really cute of you. I don't really care. Do what you want. Thanks for like almost 2,000 subscribers. It's a lot, I guess. Not really, but like, it's a lot, but like, not compared to the amount of views I get, mostly because I think people subscribe and just forget, or YouTube is just like not sending people videos and subscription feeds, which is also kind of shitty, but what are you gonna do? So I have my main system over here, out test bench wise. I like that, and I'm still sorting SATA cables over here. I'm trying to access data from this old hard drive, but I think it's just corrupted, so it kind of sucks. I had some nice stuff on there I wanted. So yeah, my new working area. Hopefully I can get work done more efficiently from how it is. What do you think, kitty? What do you think? Kitty. Kitty. Hey, what do you think, kitty? What do you think? What are you thinking? What's on your mind? Do you think? Or are you stupid? Who am I kidding? Animals don't have souls.
This is currently AMD's fastest APU. I'm going to try and quickly tame all of the
Wait for Zen.
comments, because this video and these benchmarks are meant to compare these APUs to the Zen APUs when they come out. So this review might be kind of longish. I want to touch on most things. So this is AMD's fastest APU by a small amount. So right here I'm mainly looking at the three A10 Godavari processors. Now, Godavari was a small refresh over AMD Kaveri. The only thing Godavari even has over Kaveri, the small boost and the iGPU. Anyway, the top of the line Kaveri APU was the A10 7850K. Then with Godavari came out the A10 7870K, with a slight boost in megahertz on the CPU, and then bumping the GPU 720 megahertz to 866 megahertz. And this is a beefed up version of that, the A10 7890K. So all this added over the 7870K is about 200 megahertz, and my favorite feature, the AMD Wraith cooler, which this is my first time using and I love it. It's whisper quiet over my main system with 2 Corsair SP fans. It's quite large compared to AMD's old stock coolers, and when I first turned it on, I noticed an LED through the spinning fins, and I was confused where it was coming from, until I eventually looked on the other side of the cooler and saw the illuminated AMD logo, which can only be perfectly viewed from head on, and I thought to myself, you know what? AMD's freaking awesome. Now let's get into the specs. The A10-7890K has 12 compute cores, that's 4 CPU cores and 8 GPU cores. The CPU is clocked at 4.1 GHz and can turbo to 4.3 GHz. That's disregarding the fact that this CPU is unlocked anyway, so realistically you could have gone with like a 7870K and just overclocked it. You know, so out of the box this is just faster. It has a TDP of 95 watts, it has 4 megabytes of L2 cache, and on AMD's 28 nanometer process. In terms of memory, it can handle 2 channels of 2133 megahertz memory. Holy crap, that was loud. Someone's trying to drive through snow out there. The system I'm testing this on consists of an MSI A68HM E33V2 FM2 Plus motherboard, 8 gigabytes of 2133 megahertz G-Scale Ripjaws memory. Actually, it's Aries, I wrote Ripjaws, but whatever. I'm also using a 250 gigabyte Crucial BX100 for the boot drive and a 750 watt power supply. In terms of cooling, on stock I'm using the Wraith cooler, and when I've overclocked, I moved to the Corsair H105. So I can push this chip farther because of an issue I'm having with temps. I'll talk about that later. In total, there will be 3 items tested. First, you'll see the A8-7600, another quad-core APU, with integrated R7 graphics that's clocked at 3.1 GHz. Second is the A10-7890K at stock speeds. And thirdly, we'll have the A10-7890K overclocked as high as I can get it, really. This isn't an overclocking motherboard. Not good overclocking support. I could go a little bit higher on the clock, but I mean, not like 4.7 gigahertz or whatever. I'll go ahead and mention that I will not be using dual graphics mode because that requires either an R7 240 or 250, and I feel like it wouldn't be worth it. Once you spend $80 on top of this $150 chip, it'll degrade the value even further. I think this chip would be great if you don't need to game heavily right now, you want to throw a graphics card on much later from now, or if you don't need a graphics card at all. It should also be noted, with an APU from AMD, you will be limited to 1 gigabyte of DDR3 VRAM, which is a bottleneck in GTA 5 and other games today. Just lower the resolution, you might be fine. I also wouldn't recommend this chip because of the fact that it's an Athlon X4860K with a built-in GPU. So if you're serious about gaming, then this wouldn't be for you. It also should be noted that since new architectures from both AMD and Intel are on the way, I can't recommend this for the reason that it'll be outdated so soon. Lastly, this is the best FM2 Plus processor you can get. There's no upgrade path for this in the future. After this, you'll need to buy a new processor, motherboard, and most likely RAM too. I'm using a new method for benchmarking. I hope that's easier for you to comprehend. I don't know if you'd rather watch graphs or watch it this way. I feel like this is easier to see. Actually much easier for me to make too. First, we'll run through my usual benchmarks. These are typically more demanding games, after which you can jump to some lighter titles, something more reasonable if you're considering an APU. Now, the temps are kind of screwy. I wish AMD had a much easier way to monitor temps. Thermal sensor or whatever is all off. So take these temps with the biggest handful of salt you could find, because they're off. They're definitely off. And I've had people saying their temps are over 100 degrees and like they weren't overclocked heavily at all. I was also thinking I could pair this processor with like my GTX 970 and then compare that to my i5 with the 970 to see how big the gap is between like God of Ari and like Skylake or Haswell or whatever. But I could do that in another video. It'd be way too much to cram all that in this one. So I will get working on that one and I will see you guys next time. So about a year ago, I repossessed my little sister's computer. That I built for her in hopes I could make it better, smaller size, and just better, etc. It looked like this, and it had a quad-core 3 GHz Phenom 2, 4 GB of RAM, a nice hard drive, but still a hard drive, and a GT620. In my mind, it wasn't great, nor was it optimized for a 6-year-old, or however old she was, 5 maybe, I don't know. So the main purpose of the video I did last time, where I looked at the best APU there, and then a weaker one, the A8 7600, I was really trying to see if she wouldn't need as much power, being 7 now, I'm pretty sure, age. I decided the A8 was plenty, and was going to make that the meat and potatoes of her computer, being the CPU and the GPU. There were no actual potatoes, so I could have definitely, but I waited long enough. I could always upgrade her system later considering I already had this processor for quite a few months now. Another goal, I guess, of this computer was to give it a small form factor, as well as to make it faster, of course. We'll change this case later, but I think the size was a huge upgrade by downgrading in size. So, let's get into the specifications. For the CPU, we have the AMD A7, a quad-core clocked at 3.1 GHz, with a second turbo to 3.8, as well as decent integrated R7 graphics. Along with the stock cooler, we actually switched it for another stock cooler for the X4860K. I think that the one that came with this processor was quite inadequate. For the motherboard, we have the MSI A68HM E33 V2, MATX, and a low price. I am a huge fan of the UEFI, and more features than she needs. A great feature of this board is that it supports our high-speed memory, 8 GB of 2133 G.Skill Aries RAM. To replace the old slow hard drive, we have a new SSD, a Crucial BX100 250 GB SSD, silent and fast. Not to mention that I got this for like 40 bucks used, and when I checked on Crystal Disk, it said it had like 4 or like 10 hours on record, so like it was brand new and I got it for like the price of a 120 GB I don't know, it was a nice deal. We have this case to fit it for an HTPC. It looks really generic. It's like maybe RAID Max, I'm not sure. I know it has a RAID Max power supply. It comes with a 300 watt power supply. So here are some benchmarks of my first usual benches, then we'll look at some games that this thing was meant to play or stuff that she might be playing. So if you'd like to see her build it, as well as watch the setup and see what programs I've installed to optimize it for a 7-year-old, you can go watch that video because it's a separate video. It's up in the cards. I forget which direction that is. So thank you guys for watching, and be sure to watch that video of her build it and me set it up for her, and that'll be awesome. So thank you guys for watching. And go and ring that bell thing. You know, that bell, go ring it. ring that bell. Ding.
This video is brought to you in part by Tom's Hardware, where you say one thing about AMD and suddenly you've started a war. Tom's Hardware.
How do you like this game? Hey,
What?
how do you like it?
Good.
It's good? Okay.
Ooh, yummy. Look,
What is it?
this.
It's that potato.
I'm gonna eat that potato.
You took it.
Who
I
cares?
think you stole it. If someone saw you do that, you go to jail.
No one saw me. What?
Ready for your present? Mm-hmm. Remember your old computer? Now, what if I told you I have one twice as good now for you?
You do?
Twice as good. What's that?
Read it.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
There's a big issue with this computer, okay? Do you know what the issue is? It's in pieces. I need you to help me put it together.
Okay.
Can you do that? Can you help put it together for me?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Awesome. So we have this case. Undo it by this. It's the thumb screw. Yeah. Put your hand on it from the top. Slide it. Push down. There. Now you can lift it up. Actually, what we want to do is grab the big box. It's okay if stuff falls, that's fine. There's a flap down the bottom right here. That thing, lay it over on the side, yeah, and then that metal piece, grab that too. Nice, okay, yeah. Go in, before you touch this, put your hand on that power supply next to this thing. Put your hand on this. Grab the bag, and grab the thing out of the bag, so the opening's right here. Nice, next, grab that white box up there.
Like this.
Yep, that one. And open that up.
From here.
Yeah, the top, yeah. Nice. Now on it, you want to take out only this part on the side. Just this piece, yeah. Nice. Whatever way you can. Just like that, nice. Yeah, it might stick to the bag because there's sharp pieces on the bottom. Maybe not sharp, but there's a bunch of sharp points, but they're not dangerous. And then open it up from this side. This corner opens up. Now be really careful with that, Bella. That's the main part of the computer. So you want to grab it by the edges, okay? Don't touch the piece on the bottom. You see this piece? This is where it goes into. So grab that silver part and lift it up. That part on the bottom, yeah. Just lift that up. Nice, okay. Now grab this. It shouldn't take any force. It should be laid down right in there. Just like, there, good job.
You're teaching her how to build a computer.
It's her own, yeah. So put that silver piece back down. It's actually easier than yours, because yours doesn't have any pins on the processor, so like you had to push down kind of hard right here. It's pretty easy for that one to lock down, it's AMD. Next, we want to install the RAM. You know what the RAM is? These two things right here. Where do they go? Can you tell where they go on the computer?
Right here.
Good job.
I'm gonna take it one at a time.
Okay.
Okay, now what?
So make sure you see this notch right here, that little black part matches up with that empty part because that's how it's going to fit in there. So line it up, make sure you put it inside these little holes right here on both sides. You might have to hold it with both hands on each one on each side. Don't push yet. Make sure it's in there first. So lift it up. So this needs to go right into here, the other side right into there. Now you can push down on both sides. Harder. Little snaps. Harder. Nice. Other side. Nice. Good job. Make sure the notch is lined up right. Yep, you got that. There, other side. Good job.
Okay, I see.
Okay, so put the screw in there. Top right. Just like that.
You saw how clumsy I was?
It's okay. You got it. Next, we're going to install, which we actually probably should have done before. So we're gonna use that red one right there. Let's pick that up.
Okay.
It's just a little paste you put right here. It's almost like a glue, kind of.
Oh, that's cool. What's on the bottom?
It's just metal. So this is a copper. And you want to, let's see, actually I should do it like that. So when you drop this down, I actually should do this because it's kind of difficult. So when I drop this down, nice, thank you. So this needs to go over, actually I'm going to lay this down, spread it around, so, because this is what gets rid of all your heat. So, okay, I want you to do this hard part right here, okay? So, there. Now all I want you to do is take this lever and push it on the other side, flip it around over there. It might take a lot of pressure.
Okay, that's place
Flip it around. There. Goes in those 4 pins.
Okay.
Hey, you did it. Good job.
Ooh, these are a lot of wires.
So these are for the case stuff, okay? We're gonna use all these, but we might not use all these. So all we need, just one of these, and that's later. We don't need any of these, so we can push these into the back, okay? This one of the easier ones, is gonna go right up here. So
Okay.
that I line this notch up right, so just like that, straight down into there.
Got it.
Nice.
I got it.
Is it down a little? Actually, it needs to be pushed down a little bit more, but good job. There, I got it down here. Just for better cable managing, so things look
This
easier.
is too easy for me.
This does look really easy. I remember the first time you did, you had some issue, mainly with the heatsink. I'm glad this is easy for you. This is a little part now, so this is going to be tricky.
No, it's not going to be tricky to me.
Great kid! Don't get cocky!
Does it go this way? In this one? Because look, it's missing one and that's missing
Yeah.
one.
Oh, this is a USB. You see that? It says USB on the side. They go in this one. It says USB right here. So, right into there. Make sure you get it aligned right. The missing pin. That's right, but make sure you get all the pins. So.
I got it.
Nice. That's perfect.
That one?
And it's already oriented right.
Got it.
Wow, this is really easy for you.
I'm going to do one at a time.
Yeah, it might be easier.
And it's way too dark.
Yeah. Would that be easier?
Thank you. Okay.
Yeah, you got that one. Nice.
It's way hard.
Yeah, I know.
I did it.
Really? Did you?
Is it this?
Yeah. So, take that out. And it's an old plastic bag, so just take it out of there. And so these connectors right here, it's all we're gonna use. So, nice.
But what about this?
Yeah, we don't use that one. That's for if we had another one of these. Yeah, just like that. Nice. And then this other end goes in to the drive. Only goes in one way. Right, it's right here. Other way. Nice. And now that's the hard drive setup. So now we're completely done. That's your computer. So I'm just gonna finish off by tucking some things away.
And putting that on.
Like that. We're gonna lay it down. Slide it on. There. And now the screw goes in right here. Might have to wiggle around a little bit to find the right place.
Where does the cord go?
So we're gonna have that right there. This goes into the back.
Okay, I'm gonna do it.
Okay. In the back, make sure this USB only goes one way. Plug it into that one. Yep, there you go. And then same with this, right there. It's right way. Just
The gray?
right above it, yeah. Right there. Perfect. Plug this in to this blue part right here. That one. Yeah, and then just be sure we have to screw in this, so screw these. And then other side into the monitor right there. Right there.
Okay.
and screw those in. Now, 2 power cords. This one goes right in there into the monitor. Okay, that'll give it power.
How did a sticker came with it?
They want you to label what you have, so
That's cool.
you want to put it on the front right here? Or on the top? Okay. Just like that. There. AMD A series.
Hey, look.
Yep, that's exactly what that is. Nice. Everything's almost already set up.
Hey, download stuff on it.
I'll show you. You actually have most things that you're going to need. I got that for you already, so let's...
Did you download Minecraft?
Yep, that's already on it.
Yay, on the plane.
First, let's... That, now the TV's on. And now hit that. That's the power button right there. Hear it booting up?
I have a window.
This should be pretty quick because I have an SSD in here. It should boot up right away, right into Isabella. There, done. That was fast, right?
10.
So I already have some stuff.
I love that game.
Yeah, I got that.
Yes. Castle Crashers.
That was the one I was playing a little bit ago, Delver. You saw Matthew play
How
this
do
one
you know I
before.
like Castle Crashers?
Because you play it all the time.
Huh?
There's Minecraft.
I want to play Minecraft first.
Click it up.
So there's not a lot of programs that I downloaded for her. She didn't really need too many things. I did what I could to try to make it easy as possible for her to get on and start playing. I got Google Chrome and AdBlock so that she doesn't accidentally run into any malicious ads if she needs to use the internet. Like, do you have any idea how many pop-ups there are when trying to download a Minecraft map or resource pack? It's insane. Also, I made her a Steam account, set everything to private of course, and shared my games with her from my account until I can get her own copies. I also gave her one of my Minecraft accounts. And if you guys have any suggestions for free games or software to help it keep optimized for a 7-year-old, then I would love to see that. Anyways, thank you guys for watching and have a great New Year's.